In this video, we are going to wrap up our final property of the particle render and take a look at UV animation. What this allows you to do is to cycle through a flip book of different textures on your particle. It's really great if you have like an explosion effect where you've actually got a series of explosion images that you'd like to cycle through. There's a lot of different ways you could utilize this. Even I've even seen games with like falling leaves that are a series of different images of a leaf slowly rotating, so that that particle plane can always face you and it'll still look like the leaf is tumbling as it blows around, that sort of effect. Now I'm going to show you how this works, but first I want to change a few things about our particle system to make it a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to come down here to my shader and we'll go under particles, and there's a lot of different ones that we could choose from to get the effect that I want, but I'm looking for something that is going to be pretty bright, or at least a little easier to see. So I'm going to make a few changes here. We'll set this to vertex lit blended. Now you can see this actually pays attention to the lighting, so I'll probably leave my camera oriented right about here. I'm also going to come up to my particle animator and I'm going to grab the fade out. So I'm grabbing the alpha in animation 1 or color animation 3, and I'm going to pull these all the way up so that we're not fading out over as much time. Now you'll see why I'm doing this here in just a second. What I've got is a texture that I have created specifically for this. So let's see, if I open up this texture, let's see, did that open up somewhere on the screen, or am I just, I don't see it at all. Let me try double clicking on it. There we go. Now, this is going to be a little hard to see, and I realize that. But what we have is a grid of numbers, 1 through 16, on a transparent background. That's what we're looking at. So what I'm going to do is drop this onto my particle system, and let's just go ahead and get it playing so you can see the result. And here we have those sheets of numbers. Now let's slow things down. It'll make things a little easier to see. So let's see, we've got this initial velocity local. Let's pull this down to about, I don't know, 0.25. So they're moving a lot more slowly. Let's take our rate of emission, and we'll also pull that down to about 1 particle every second. And then let's also take our energy, and we'll make that 10 seconds. So these guys can last for a nice long while. And you see they're just kind of marching across. Now what I'd like to see is each one of those numbers show up individually and cycle through, and that's exactly what UV animation is here for. So first off, what we need to do is set up how many tiles we have in the X and Y directions, X being horizontal, Y being vertical. And what I have in this case is 4 by 4. And we're already done. Now the way this works is we are cycling through those images based on the energy of the particle, based on that lifespan. If a particle is supposed to live for 3 seconds, we're going to make that cycle over the course of 3 seconds. This brings us to our next property underneath UV animation, which is cycles. By default, this is set to 1. This means in this case, we're going to count from 1 to 16 one time before the particle dies. You'll notice all of these particles have something in common. They all hit 16 for the first time right before they die. If we take our number of cycles and set it to 2, the numbers start counting twice as fast, and about midway they'll reach 16 and start back over at 1 and continue counting.
Right. This is an excellent technique to add more life to your particle systems, in addition to things like the random rotation and the rotation velocity. Because all those are doing is taking a static image and rotating them around. By doing this, you could set things up like a little explosion, little cloud, and it actually will change the texture that's applied and give it a more random, more organic feel to it.
That's right. Now, one thing I do want to point out here is that by default, you'll notice this behavior is blinking. It's literally just immediately shifting from one image to the next. There's no blend from one to the other. So if you don't want your changes, your animations to appear very harsh, you may want several different frames to get a nice smooth transition, unless that's not particularly important to you. Just wanted to throw that out there. Now, that is everything I wanted to cover here. It's just a look at how this UV animation system works. Again, there are all kinds of ways that you could apply this. Like if you wanted to have smoke that kind of roiled around and had some motion into it, you could have a grid of pictures of smoke, maybe rendered out of Maya using, say, the fluid simulator, so that you could get some smoke that had some motion to it, and you could cycle through that animation throughout the life of each particle, and you get a lot more ambient motion inside your particle. Also, again, really good for explosions. But that will wrap things up for this video. Thank you for watching.